Incoming message.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind.
Groovy.
Hi-ho. This is me, Kermit the Frog.
Hello there.
Moopsy.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Not a great plan.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Different roads, same old spark. Talking Trek till the street lights spark. We're those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mac and DT cannon lighting up the airwaves. Blasters of books, we're geek to the core. Laughing through the lore on those sci-fi guys.
Yes, we are indeed those sci-fi guys, and this is Those Sci-Fi Guys show. Just two working dudes, different live potato jobs, but a whole lot of love for science fiction and the fun that comes with. We are your hosts. I am P.S. McKay, and I gotta be honest, I was not prepared for King Charles to make a War of 1812 joke in the White House.
Well, I'm DT Caveman, and I missed that, but, always fun when people remember his obscure historical conflicts.
It was, you literally joked about the Brits burning down the White House. It was an unfortunate renovation, as he put it.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's good. That's funny. I don't have a problem with the royal family. I respected Queen Elizabeth quite a bit. She kind of had to become her own boss when she was thrust into the crown at the age of 26 and no real formal education and everything. And she took it upon herself to learn all that. So, a lot of respect to that. Not to everyone in the royal family, by the way. I need to be very clear about that, but we're not going to talk about that much further. So, but that was a funny joke. Good on him. So, how you doing, DT?
I'm good. My family and I went on vacation last week. It was really nice. We did 5 days, and we didn't go too far. We went to the coast here, and while it's not the busy time, well, it is a busier time. And one of the reasons why we stayed close in driving distance rather than fly was because the spring break around here was just crushing.
Everyone's on spring break in New England during that week.
Well, it's definitely crazy. So we stayed within driving distance, drove to the coast, to the Cape. We did a couple of, we stayed at a little hotel, stayed at a resort. We stayed at the Margaritaville.
Margaritaville. I'm reminded of the meme of that little girl going, Margarita. Yeah. You know which one I'm talking about?
Nope.
Oh, just like a little girl that being asked by her mom, like a toddler, like what would you like to drink, sweetie? Do you want milk or apple juice? And she goes, margarita. Yeah. It was just
clearly
so it was cute.
They've been around somebody who imbibes.
Well, who's going to judge as long as she's healthy and happy? So
we had a really fantastic trip. We got to, poke around. First 2 days we had plans and we did things. Took a trip over to one of the islands and poked around there for a day. We went on a whale watch, and then we had one day that was, just kind of a chill day where we poked around, went to shops, and this was all in and around, the 2 travel days. So it was nice. But
how was the whale watch?
Well, I'm going to send you a short video of the end of the whale watch. If you could then play it for us, because, we're not going to get whacked on this. I own the rights to this.
No, we won't get whacked on it, I don't think.
Yep.
But who knows?
You're gonna have to sort through about 10 to 15 seconds of searching and scanning before the main event kind of comes through. So just bear with us, folks.
There we go. Oh, shoot. Okay, hold on. I can do this. All right. Now, if only I can share my screen. If there only was a way to do that. Here we go. There is. I don't know if you're going to get the sound, though. So that's
see. Okay. The sound would have been kind of annoying.
Here we go.
There you go. Oh, that's cool.
A couple dolphins there.
Yeah. Actually, more than a couple. Our boat was surrounded by hundreds, and if you look kind of in the distance and you see these little white puffs, they're coming up all over the place.
There be whales. Okay. Very fun.
Well, that was at the end. Like we had gone out. We'd been out for close to 4 hours. We were on our way in. And it ended up like somebody's like, oh, there's a dolphin. Now we know that there's dolphins along the East Coast and including up this way, but a school of a couple hundred dolphins all around us is something I'd never thought to see right off the coast of Massachusetts. Now these aren't your huge, bottleneck,
They're not the gray. Yeah, they're not the gray ones.
These are Atlantic whiteside dolphins, but they were really cool.
Mm-hmm. They look pretty. That's fun.
Yeah, they are. And then there's this video, which is a little longer, but it kind of bears, well, you really just basically have to see it to believe it, because I've been on probably, close to half a dozen whale watches since I've come back, to the East Coast. Actually, I did one on the West Coast, but this one was something I'd never seen in years, my 40 plus years as going on whale watches. Never seen anything like it.
Here we go. It took a second for it to load. 1 second.
Yeah.
Any prep on this one?
No, but you do need to get through about 10 minutes or so before you start really seeing what's going on. Okay, there you go.
Wow, there you are. That's the humpback.
That is called a spine up, ladies and gentlemen, and
you can mute this if you want. It gets kind of loud.
It's loud. It is loud.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
But here's the thing. Now watch this. What this whale is doing.
Is he going to talk to the probe? Is he going to talk to the alien probe?
Probably not. This one was kind of an adolescent. It came from under the boat. You could see the big pectoral fins deep down in the water because they're white and they kind of glow green with phytoplankton. But this thing just chilled out, turned around, looked at us, poked his head out.
Or is that tail?
You can
having a good time with you guys.
Yeah. This was one of the first 2 humpbacks that had been seen that season. At least by this charter or this whale watch company, which has been running for over 50 years now out of the same spot. And
now they go to the north in the winter, right?
No, other way around. In the winter, they go south to calve and breed and whatnot. In the summer, they come up here and further north to feed on all this.
To feed and everything, because they basically like fast and stuff during the birthing months.
Right. That they fatten up here in the summer. They move south. So, but this is, I've never seen anything like it. It was wild.
Repeated. So yeah, very cool. Nice. That's a
And-
successful whale watch right there, sir.
Well, you know, it was
You're
funny.
never guaranteed.
No, it was, you know, when we went, it was the humpbacks hadn't yet made their appearance until that day. We were the first boat to see them. But we had seen fin whales, which for anybody, if you don't know much about whales, the fin whale or the finback whale is the second largest whale. It can get up to 70 to 80 plus feet long. Second only in size to the blue whale, which can be anywhere from 90 to 100 feet long. By the way, blues, which are extremely rare in New England waters, or at least southern New England waters, were seen off Martha's Vineyard a couple of weeks ago. They figured, you know, it's very rare to see them that far south. So we figured that they went, you know, they stopped, somebody saw them, and they continued on up towards Canadian waters, where they usually feed this time of year.
Okay.
Also at this time, and what I was kind of hoping to see, were right whales. So there's less than 400 northern right whales left in the world. They're called right whales because they were big, slow, not super aggressive. So they were really good for whalers. Whalers took the advantage. Now, the population of the southern right whale, which is technically like a slightly distinct version of the right whale, is, you know, it's thriving a bit more off the coast of, like, I guess, Antarctica, Australia, and Africa. But the right whales, which they were counting somewhere around 360 coming into this year, showed up with 20 plus calves, which is the biggest jump in years.
Very good. That's a very good indication of things.
Yep. And because they're so endangered, there literally is like a speed limit when they're in the area. You have to, like, you can't go more than 10 knots or something. And they were coming up.
Yeah.
You know, there are times where they go through the Cape Cod Canal and they shut down all traffic when the whales go through the canal, which is perfectly fine. I think about 3 years ago, when we did a cruise to Bermuda in April, we saw a bunch of whales, which it did force. I noticed our course had kind of altered a little, so we assumed that they might have been the right whales that were coming up. So it was just kind of interesting. They were in the waters around the Cape, although they were starting to head further north. But they'd been seen like a day or two earlier. So it was very cool. We didn't get to see them, but that's still cool that they're showing signs of further reproduction. But the fin whales, those were cool. They came up, the boat was like 110, 120 feet long. And when these whales pulled alongside at like 75 feet, it gives you a real look at how big some of these animals can get. We're talking, wow. I'd never seen fin whales before. At pretty much every whale watch I've ever been on, it's been humpbacks. Now there's been occasional other, like minkies, which are small whales, ones that weren't heavily hunted because they weren't worth a whole lot. So
right, they weren't worth the labor.
Right. Plus, they also didn't go in big groups either. They had a tendency for smaller pods. So, but it was just really cool. And I had a bit of a whale phase when I was a kid. I find them very interesting. I love going whale watches. My family did. It was really cool. We had a great time. And since I had some videos that I could show, you know, one of the few media that we've been able to show that's not gonna get us whacked on YouTube.
And boy, howdy, has YouTube been a little ruthless as of late. Whoo, boy. I don't know if you've been following the drama. but they've put in a new AI algorithm that goes in and looks at different channels and stuff. And if it's showing a lot of inauthentic content, whatever that means, like I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get rid of superfluous channels that steal, material from other channels, like just straight up ripping the videos from other channels and playing it on their channel. I've seen a couple.
And that makes sense. That sucks.
But it feels a little bit more nuanced than that, because a lot of people who are doing the new authentic content, they're getting demonetized, and it's just so years of work that they've been working on, it's just down the drain, which is awful. We're not a target because we're not monetized. But if we want to share our wonderful ideas and stuff, we do have to worry about whether it's restricted in the area or whatnot. So that's the fun part there. So
very true.
Yeah, so YouTube's been a little bit of a bastard. So anyway,
huge bastards sometimes.
Huge bastard.
But
yeah.
But that's also what happens sometimes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Go ahead. You were gonna say something. I was trying to segue. I thought I was reading you. So obviously I didn't do well enough.
Well, you cut me off.
As
right in the middle.
That's what I do. That's what I do. Sir.
But sometimes people survive that. Which leads us to our next topic, is the latest Disney Star Wars animated show, the ongoing Maul Shadow Lord.
Indeed, dibbly. I don't know. How far did you get into this? I know you didn't get all the way through. I finished it last night, up through episode 8, but we don't need to talk more than what you've seen. Obviously, we already established that.
Yeah, I know. 9 and 10 finish this weekend this Monday on May 4th. So obviously, they always do something to get to May 4th. So
right,
I have gotten through the first 3 episodes, and then I got kind of bogged down with some late nights at work and then going away. So we also had, some family things going on. Good, nothing bad, just, getting together with family
obligations.
Stuff, so
yeah, no, that's fine.
No,
I mean, I'm not upset with you.
Stuff like that. So I have not finished it. I do plan to get through it this weekend. I want to be able to finish by May the 4th. Besides which, my kid has been asking to watch it. So I was looking forward to this. I love Sam Witwer as Darth Maul. I was curious as to what was going on, how they were going to. This is supposed to, I think, help you bridge the gap between where the Clone Wars ended, where he escaped from, from Ahsoka and the clones, and where his appearance, as he starts to appear in later media like Solo and Rebels.
They made that clear at the end of episode 8 and where this takes place in the timeline. I'm not going to tell you because it actually is an interesting gotcha moment. But I will say I was not impressed with the first 3 chapters, the first 3 episodes. I got to say it was a little slow. And the serial storytelling annoys the shit out of me. By the way, I'll also say this. It's not a bad show. Okay? It's not bad. Like, it does pick up later. But the first 3 episodes, like, if you're going to try to snag someone in, boy, that did not work out that well.
But what we need to do is we can discuss the first the first couple episodes, and then we can, once we're finished, and maybe next week we can close it out. If we determine that it's something we want to do as a
we're gonna be
closeout
dedicated.
review.
We're gonna close it out. It's fine.
Good.
We'll close it out.
Perfect.
It's
Although
fine.
we don't want to be mauled.
I'm already 8 episodes in. Like, I did this for you, DT. Don't take this away from me now.
I wasn't gonna. I was just giving you a trapdoor option.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
JMS style.
I'll say this, and we'll go into the first 3 episodes in a second. You're good at recaps. I'm not, but the whole serial storytelling, it makes this thing basically a 5-hour movie, and there's not a lot that happens in each episode. It's all just like it's all stuff that could be condensed into maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Like, this seriously could have made a pretty solid 1.5-hour movie. Really good, actually. And I am annoyed as hell. Or make it more episodic. Like, really show us. Like, really show us
a little
how
bit more like the Bad Batch.
Yes, like that's more enjoyable to me. I don't give a crap. I understand they're doing the serial format because that's the style, and they all want to keep you coming back for more. We'll come back for more if it's episodic too, Like we will, and as long as you release it on a regular schedule, we're gonna do that. We might not see it that exact moment that it comes out because it doesn't work that way anymore. But
the first,
we're not going to let it
half
sit for
or
2 years.
The first half of the Clone Wars was kind of like that. Then the back half, they really started doing arcs, which is fine. I didn't have a problem with that.
Story arcs are fine too.
It's what worked. It worked well with Andor, particularly in season 2. It worked well with the Clone Wars season 7 when they brought it back, and they gave you a couple of little arcs.
That was
there.
fine too.
Which gave you they made you almost like have like 3 movies or something, as opposed to, 3 or 4 like movies, depending on how they ran it.
Andor was a perfectly digestible show in that regard. It actually probably, they made it like those 4 chapters, because those 4 chapters were originally supposed to be the whole series or the whole episode. The whole season for each chapter that they did. And them being forced to condense it down and bring it down really tightened up the storytelling. That's why everyone, even the most harshest critics of Star Wars would say Andor was very well written and tight storytelling. This feels like they're just trying to drip you slowly, like a soap opera. They just kind of string it out because they want you to come back for the sweeps at the end of the month and everything, and it's like, So anyway, that's my harsh criticism up front. I got some other patterns I want to bring out later, but why don't you start with chapter 1, The Dark Revenge?
Is any revenge not dark? In its actual, maybe.
It's a good question.
All right,
for another day. As Maz Kanata once said.
Yeah. Left that hanging right there.
Yep.
Anyway, so you have Darth Maul is now trying to figure out how to survive and rebuild his shadow collective after the rise of the Empire. Plus, he also seeks vengeance upon members of the collective who abandoned him or betrayed him during the end of the Clone Wars. So this show takes place, at least at first, on the planet of Janix, So Maul's got a small group of loyal people, including some Zabraks, some Mandalorians, and a mix and mash. Right? They start robbing a bank owned by a crime lord by the name of Nicodemus.
Nicodemus, I noticed that too.
See, sometimes Star Wars can be right on the nose with names.
Is he in here?
While
group of photos.
While nominally under the Empire, Janix is not fully there's not an Imperial garrison there, so they really don't want one either.
No, so they do everything they can to avoid being under the Empire's thumb.
Right. So this defense force in this area who's investigating this is Captain Brander Lawson, and he's got
him.
I like him too. He's investigating this, robbery with his droid partner. The droid, by the way, is called Two Boots. And they think, like Maul, enough video footage in some of these crimes, and you see something like laser sword. By the way, they dropped that line, classic from some earlier movies.
Mm-hmm.
But they eventually uncover that they think it's Maul who's wanted by the Empire, but they don't really want to bring the Empire in. They want to see if they can do it themselves, because if they bring the Empire in, they'll never leave. Meanwhile, there's a Jedi Master and Padawan, Devon Izara, who's a Twi'lek, and she got arrested for shoplifting.
Her full name.
Dude, I have the cast list up. I'm not stupid.
Okay, thank you. This picture doesn't do her good. Sorry, I'll pick another one.
Especially because the master's name is like Iko Dio Daki. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance. I was going to watch some episodes tonight, but I've been running behind all week because I had a real late night on Monday. So a couple of, just been playing catch up with a lot of things the last couple of days. Anyway, Devon gets arrested, for shoplifting. And Master Dake tells her to, cooperate and avoid drawing attention.
Who's Master Dake voiced by?
Oh, yeah. By the way, voiced by the great Dennis Haysbert, which
love it. By the way,
yeah,
love it.
Yeah, because as soon as the voice came in, I'm like, wait a second.
I know, I had to do that too. As soon as he said his first sentence, I'm like, hold on, pause. We're doing some looking
try
here.
To sell me insurance.
Thought about that too.
So yeah, I mean, they brought in some quality names over the years. They even had Ernie Hudson in Bad Batch, among others. But it's I like it.
Real Perlman. I mean, they had Seth
Perlman,
Green in.
Wow, he's a giant Star Wars nerd. That's a difference.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think hasn't what's his name, Patton Oswalt, been involved in some form or another, or is that just Star Trek and Marvel?
Oh God, I want to say that Patton Oswalt has either gotten involved or will get involved with Star Wars, because we know he's a huge Star Wars nerd, and that's perfectly fine.
He's a nerd. But the worst part is he's the nerd that Hollywood thinks they can use to justify their nerd cred. That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's perfectly fine. So,
Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt. Yeah, I actually liked him as the various recurring people in the Koenig family in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I thought he was. That was great. That was a good. They were almost prescient.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually wondered, were they like, you know, you start wondering, are these, since they keep showing up like as Patton
Where
Oswalt,
they're
you're like, are
needed.
they clones? What's
Yeah,
going
like
on
how
here?
many of you are there?
Then you meet a sister, and then you go back in the 30s, and they meet the ancestor. It's great. Anyway, so she's in jail. They're like trying to, she's trying to be evasive. The cop, Lawson is trying to, play a little soft with her. But he knows she's hiding something, and clearly this is the, post purge where Palpatine's, smear campaign against the Jedi has turned just about everybody against them. But meanwhile, too, so this whole robbery, Maul also kind of uses it to try to stir up a war between two rival gangs. You have Nicodemus, and then you have Lutivario, and they both kind of, bailed on Maul at one point, and they have a meeting, a sit down, because one guy's like, this dude should, rip me off. The other guy's like, is like, but we've had this truce, so what's going on? So they do a sit down, and it ends up kind of blowing up in their face. They at first it looks like they're making some headway, and they kind of all, are trying to mention, but without directly avoid talking about Maul. And then, it kind of blows up. Vario kind of gets the drop on Demas during the confusion, shoots him, kills him, and is being trailed by Maul's group, who crashes the party. Lawson and the cops, they actually get wind of what's going, of this throwdown, and he ends up arresting Vario, and Maul and his crew attack the precinct. They bust Vario out, and Maul, picks up on the force sensitivity of Devon, who she's like kind of trying to hide, and she can feel him, and clearly she was old enough to know who he was, at least was taught, before the fall of the Jedi Order, which is probably only within the last year or two, I would think, of this. Maybe within 5 years.
I would say within 5 years or something like that. It's not explicit, but it's kind of, it's there-ish. So
sure. So, Vario is like pleading for his life. He basically offers to help Maul kill the leader of the Pike Syndicate, who also bailed on Maul.
See, I can't find that guy. He's a little worm of a guy.
Who, Vario?
They didn't get a good picture still of him that I can show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a prime example of a fast-talking, mobster who uses his mouth as much to get himself out of trouble.
I swear, I think that Jon Favreau went to Martin Scorsese and said, "Hey, be you, but look at this character here in this cartoon that they're making. Be like him, and do that in Mando." It was kind of like that, kind of like Marty, and
sure.
That's coming up,
Yep, maybe. That is Chris Diamantopoulos. God, I'm sorry, dude.
You're fading, dude. You're fading.
Normally I'm pretty good at tackling this. But I'm going to continue to butcher this guy's name, so I'm going to leave it alone.
Don't worry about it. Just move on.
Yep. Anyway, so Maul kind of spares him to use him for his help in taking down the Pikes and getting revenge on other folks. But now he also has, he thinks he might have a potential apprentice in Devon, right? Which she's afraid,
why?
but also
why is
resistant.
He suddenly drawn to her? Why does he have this drive to attain an apprentice when? I get it. He tried to do that with Ezra as well later on, but
his
why?
brother Savage was also his apprentice at one point. So I think it's
is it
innate.
Just a thing?
It's almost.
I was going to say,
for Maul, it's also about his legacy too, in many ways. He refuses to die. He refuses to, just disappear, no matter how many times he's nearly killed by Obi-Wan, by Palpatine, by Ahsoka. Every time he falls, he seems to get back up with a further drive for either control, power, or revenge, usually around all three. And maybe he sees Devon, if he can turn her into an apprentice, as a way to get stronger and possibly take revenge on Palpatine and Kenobi and other people he believes betray him. And maybe, just maybe, I don't know, maybe there's also a desire to pass along this legacy.
Something.
It's hard to tell because he really was trying to recruit Ezra, and he kind of was trying to tempt Ahsoka Tano. So no, he was near the end. It is the way of the Sith, even though he doesn't consider himself a Sith or Darth or whatever, but he is a servant of the dark side. So that's where the first episode ends. In episode 2.
Well, isn't it where she recognizes him when she breaks him, when he opens the?
Yes.
Did you say that? I apologize if I missed that.
Okay. Yeah, she recognizes him. Clearly, she was taught about him by the Jedi before the end.
Right.
Maul, a lot of people began to recognize him, like Ahsoka recognized him, that sort of thing. Later on, but you have, it ends. He's captured her, and he's having visions of an apprentice, and he believes that that's her, right? So you cut to the next episode, and it's kind of like a running firefight with the police and Maul's group throughout the streets of Janix. Master Dake uses the Force to intervene. While he's attempting to save Devon. Maul distracts him, though, and also the police, because he endangers civilians. So he has to use his, overtly use his Force powers to prevent, I think it was a bridge of pedestrians from falling.
Yep.
And Maul and his group escape. He's got Vario and Devon. He's got them imprisoned. They're in separate vaults, of course. It's always good bad guy stuff. He's trying to break through Devon's indoctrination by the Jedi to get her to see, his perspective and the way of the galaxy. She's obviously resistant, at least, putting on a brave face. He wants her to adapt to the new state of the galaxy. Yes.
Advantageous. This is in the jail cell.
That's such a great look. That's like pure Maul.
I will say the animation is really well done. It's very well. You can see where they do the painting and everything for the textures and whatnot, and I'll give that a pass. That's fine. It actually is finely detailed painting. But the animation itself, it's very fluid and very the motion capture on this is like top notch.
The Clone Wars style, which has continued to progress, and you notice they didn't veer back. Every subsequent show has not veered into the other animation styles, right? So Rebels kind of had like an offshoot of Clone Wars where you could still recognize characters, but they were different in a way. It was a different animation style. And then the ridiculous Star Wars Resistance. I tried to get into it. I couldn't. Which was very anime-ish.
Yeah, no.
And
as far as I know,
really didn't like. It only did 2 seasons. It really is kind of forgotten about. Rebels is highly touted. The Bad Batch had a lot of positive reviews. A lot of people liked that, and even Tales of the Jedi. So, like Clone Wars to Bad Batch to this and the Tales of the Jedi are all the same animation style, all of them. And each iteration, it's more and more refined. So coming away from the original movie and first season of Clone Wars, where it was very blocky and people's hair didn't move and stuff like this, Maul's cloak is moving organically with his movement. People's hair are moving in the wind. It's getting more and more realistic looking, or at least believable. So the animation continues to get better, and I love it because screw it if anybody calls them a cartoon for kids or something like that. This stuff is high quality animation, and the storytelling is pretty solid. Okay.
Agreed.
So, you've got Maul trying to, convince Devin that it is, it's in her best interest to join him because the Empire destroyed the Jedi, and she has to, change that mindset, and she's trying to resist, hearing all the horror stories about Maul, 99% of which was earned.
Right.
Meanwhile, you've got this, police officer, Captain Lawson, who's like, he's the last, good cop kind of, that the guy who's going to try to uncover the criminal conspiracy or go up against the mob by himself kind of thing. Something that is, like the sheriff against the outlaw gang, the one cop who's not crooked in the precinct kind of thing. Things that have gone through TV and movies forever. Not saying that like you can tell that Janix is not it is not.
They're not a backwater.
Like, no, and it's also right, and it's also not lawless, but you can tell that things are a little looser there because clearly the police have a decent enough presence, but they know unless it spreads to civilians, they're trying to keep the balance between these criminal gangs, right? Keep them from turning into full-blown gang wars.
And a great youth program stuff and things like that. So
he's a single father, right?
Yep. And that's an interesting angle. They never really talked about it like in such a domestic form like they showed here.
Yep.
So because you would think that his son his son doesn't feature very prominently in the first few episodes. He does. I'm not spoiling anything. He does feature prominently later. And I thought that he was going to be kind of a one-off, like in the background kind of thing, and like, you know, kind of the foil, like to you know, be personable enough just to show us that this guy, the single father, feels guilty that he's spending all this time trying to track down Maul and to figure out this whole crime syndicate issue.
It's another trope of the overworked, you know, stand-up cop who is torn between wanting to spend time with his family and knowing that he's got to solve these crimes and save lives. You know, just because it's a trope doesn't mean it's bad. Okay, especially if it's done right, and they're doing a pretty good job with this, because this guy is clearly, he knows he's dealing with. He might even think he's in over his head to a degree.
Yeah. I would feel that way.
These runs, like the brutal scenes of like Maul and his crew just mowing down. Fortunately, most of the police force is droids.
Which they did on purpose.
Yeah, but there were plenty of dead cops too. Mostly blown up droids, but enough fatalities. You know, it is Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his son Riley, which of course is not the standard spelling. It's a Star Warsy spelling. You know, obviously there's the times where it's like, I've got to make, you know, I'm going to be there for my kid's game, but oh no, here comes a crisis coming and I got to go do that. Right. That kind of, I'm sorry, I'm bleeding a little into episode 3 about that, but that's basically what is happening with this subplot, right? But he's under pressure from the chief and the governor of the colony, or the governor of the planet, to try to resolve this matter, especially because, again, they don't want the Empire to come in. So
no, but
what
the
does he do?
The louder Maul is acting, which he doesn't want to act out loud. You know, he doesn't want to act loud because he doesn't want the Empire to come by either.
Nope. But the more that this spirals into a bigger issue, the more chance that the Empire is going to show up.
Right.
Know? And if it's known that Maul's involved, things like Vader and Inquisitors would show up, which Maul knows. I'm not sure Lawson and company are thinking that way, but they don't want like battalions of stormtroopers just rolling into town either.
They're only thinking about the Navy itself and the stormtroopers and stuff. So that's the whole idea of the Jedi is not forefront or the Inquisitors. That was kind of a badly kept secret, not advertised. I don't think.
No, but it's almost like the boogeymen, right?
Yeah.
Like the Inquisitors and Darth Vader and all that. It's almost like the boogeymen, like these ultra powerful enforcers and whatnot, and they just murder people indiscriminately. You know,
pretty much.
Yeah. So we've seen that in many other Star Wars media. Anyhow, he's under pressure. So what does he do? What does a good cop do? He goes and makes contact with one of his underworld contacts, maybe a confidential informant or somebody he's got like some form of working relationship with, and is trying. And her name's Rena, and he's trying to get information on Maul in this group because he has uncovered that it's Maul.
The voice of Bobby Hill right here, everybody. Pamela Adlon. I don't know if you recognize that.
Well, I recognize the name, and then when I've looked at some of the names, like they have a pretty good voice cast, you know.
No, they do.
They do. You have, we've already mentioned Dennis Haysbert is the Jedi Master.
Yeah, we can talk more about that later.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, you know.
I like this
If you want to
character.
also know something, so Devon's character is voiced by Pamela Adlon's daughter.
I didn't know that. I should have.
Yep.
That sounds like something I should have known.
Yep. Her name is Gideon Adlon. So.
Okay. Well, she does a good job. I like her voice acting. She probably takes after her mother.
Sure, she has some experience with that.
Yeah, probably her mother is a very good voice coach for her in that regard. So that shows. So I like that.
So meanwhile, Lawson feels that somebody's following him, and it turns out it's Master Dake. He's trying to find out where Devon is, right? Kind of an interesting looking Jedi. I like it. I'd like to learn a little bit more about the race.
Is he the same race as what Rhea Perlman played in The Bad Batch?
Rhea Perlman, I think, was a Trandoshan. I do not believe he is.
He's some kind of reptilian thing.
Yes. A new lizard-like species. Mosic. But new for this production. So anyway. So, he's following Lawson. Obviously, he's trying to figure out what happened to Devon, right? I think, you kind of know these Jedi Masters would have had a feeling had their Padawan been killed. So I think he knows that she's still alive, and he's trying to figure out where.
Yeah.
Back with Maul, you got Vario trying to provide whatever information he has to keep himself alive, and he gives him some info on a Pike transport. They attack it to try to draw out the Pike leader. Maul is involved personally. He wipes out the crew of this transport. They steal the cargo, and he also, is like playing mind games with Devon to a degree, but also telling her, hey, I bet, you can use the Force to break out of the prison if you really want to. And she does. And that kind of bleeds into episode 3 as she's trying to escape and is being chased by Maul's followers. She runs down and then runs directly into Maul. And of course, much like Worf, offers her tea. What is this with blade-wielding badasses offering somebody tea?
Because it's a dichotomy.
Yeah.
Tea is supposed to be cultured and refined and a thinking person's moment. When you have tea, you have a little bit of Zen in you, and then it kind of fits perfectly with it when it comes to the Force and everything in the Star Wars universe. But yeah, it's a dichotomy.
Because Maul can go back and forth between these moments of like almost serene calm to this manic rage, and when you think about it, Sam Witwer was possibly the perfect guy to be, overcast as James T. Kirk. I would love to hear him because his Kenobi scream is legendary. I think we need to get a con from Sam Witwer.
Well, you're the one that goes to these things, so do you have the courage to do it? Do you to ask him in the middle of a Star Wars
we know
panel?
Everybody wants to ask you to do Kenobi, but you also played Kirk in a video. Can you give me a con?
Yeah.
Have this man removed. Sorry, I'll see myself out.
Yeah. By the bylaws of Lucasfilm, you're not allowed to mention the Trek show.
Anyway, what was kind of interesting, because Devon is clearly, she's still got the, Maul is the bad guy. She's not taking him up on anything. And she grabs one half of his lightsaber and then tries to, fight him off. And, Maul, of course, does the, Sith in the darkness, and taunting you and, sneaking around
Bringing
you
out
and getting
skill
closer
sets
in
in
your
her.
ears. Right. And, like trying to get in her head since the Jedi are gone. It was pretty good, right? But it was also kind of neat because we've only ever seen Maul with the double-bladed lightsaber attached, even when he was only using one blade. With the double-bladed lightsaber. When he was using other ones, it was different. Obviously, he also used the dark saber at one point. You have, the investigation is ongoing while this is going on. It's like the other half of the episode is how they're tracking the investigation. And Lawson is kind of telling everybody what he knows or what he learned about Maul. And he wants his team to investigate, Vario and the dealings with the Pikes, because now that's getting out of hand. Now you've got a third criminal group. Excuse me, technically, I guess you would consider them a fourth criminal organization doing business here. So it's clearly starting to spiral out of control. He's like, okay, you dig, he tells Two Boots and company, you dig into this. I'm going to go watch my kid play. Call me if you need anything. Right? He shows up and then he, obviously he gets interrupted because that's what happens in these things. He never, the cop never gets a chance to watch the whole game and take his kid out for pizza and say, that's great, and then go into work the next day. That's not how it happens in these things. So now he has his face-to-face with Master Dake, who claims that he's Devin's uncle, which, of course, raises a little eyebrows because they're not the same species, but whatever.
Hey, don't be specious.
No, I'm not. But you can see Lawson's questioning that, right?
Well, yeah, you'd have to. He wouldn't be a good cop if he didn't.
Right, of course. And of course, he's trying to convince her, oh no, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was starving, that sort of thing. But it doesn't go anywhere. But Two Boots manages to they identify that there's a confrontation going on between the Pikes and Vario's men over a shipment of equipment and stuff. Maul ambushes them. They destroy the shipment. Lawson has to leave the match early when he learns of the attack. And the droid, of course, is always advocating, well, we should call in the Empire because we need more help. And Lawson's like, please do not keep asking about this. But then his boss but then Two Boots is like, oh, okay, well, I'll just talk to the boss.
Yeah.
And of course, as a droid, he doesn't understand what a dick move that is.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And this time, and this is where it kind of starts to wrap up, Devin continues to try to escape from Maul. Maul pops out of the darkness. They fight, and he's kind of like toying with her. And then finally...
Finish the thought. It's fine.
Sorry. And finally...
That's all right.
Maul reaches out, snags the second half of the lightsaber, reclaims it as the double blade, and then lets her go. Wild.
And that's how episode 3 is. So.
Yeah, man. It was amazing. It was an amazing ending. It really was how they ended it right there. You can see she's got the lightsaber. You've got Maul coming out of the darkness, really leaning into his terrifying creepiness. So it was pretty awesome to see that, and I'm looking forward to seeing more as it goes on. Okay, it ended where he's still kind of toying with her, but also gave her a lot to think about. She runs out, and now you wonder what's going
did
through
look
her
back.
head. Mm-hmm.
And I do like how Maul is like, Devin, I'll need that lightsaber back, please. And then just takes it from her with the Force.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about 3 things we like about this. You start. Okay. I'll start. I do like the characters. Every character is very explicit and different. The main characters that we need to follow are well supported by the characters that are a little less memorable, but still distinct in their own rights. I mean, Maul has his group. He's got a group of Mandalorians. He's got a group of his, I don't know, Dathomirians or whatever. And then he's from Dathomir, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
But the race is called, they're a Zabrak is the name of the race. Some are from Dathomir, others aren't.
Right, because in Star Wars, they're all it's a diaspora now. So
yes,
like hundreds of thousands of years of spreading and everything. So I do like the individual characters. I like the little shady guy. What's his name again? That Maul.
Vario.
I like Vario. I don't find him annoying, shockingly enough. And I think
they found a balance.
They did find a balance, and you still don't know where his allegiance really lies. He is like a chaotic neutral, always kind of looking out for himself, but he'll go wherever the current takes him, as long as it's in his best interest.
Sure,
and
of course.
So I'm appreciative of that. I do like the overworked dad angle. Not something we see often in Star Wars. You did mention, though, that it is a trope. It is a thing, obviously. Wow. And Devin, I don't mind. I do think they could have made her look a little prettier. I don't know. She looks a little, I don't know, like puffy. It's weird. It's hard for me to say, because like she looks blocky in some scenes. This it doesn't show that well, but in other scenes she looks like she has a very square jaw, like very broad. In this scene she doesn't. This shot she doesn't, but it's really weird. In some shots she looks very masculine. In other shots she looks more feminine, but not completely feminine.
Fair enough.
So there's that. What about you? What's one thing you like about this?
Well, I kind of like the angle they're going for. So Maul is doing his trying to wipe out competition and rebuild his collective. And rather than it being straight up, trying to avoid the Inquisitorious or Imperial soldiers, or him even really hunting down former Jedi, his main adversary right now is just a cop trying to keep the peace.
A very overpowered cop. No, I'm sorry, not underpowered cop in relation to Darth Maul.
Of course.
Who is not interested in killing
formerly
people
Darth,
necessarily.
now just Maul.
I know, I did say Darth Maul, didn't I?
I know. It's what he's always going to be known as, but he literally says that formerly Darth, now just Maul. Very nice.
Yeah.
And you've got Sam Witwer, who has been voicing this character since, like season 4 or 5 of the Clone Wars, which is all the way back in,
2011.
Yeah, something like that. So he's been doing it for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And he's done a fantastic job. And he's a huge Star Wars nerd too. He and Filoni and whatnot, they like nerd out together. So it is kind of interesting. You know, he takes this role seriously. He brings a gravitas that you don't get in his appearance in Phantom Menace. He's supposed to look menacing, but he's really just the number 2 henchman that dies in just about every movie, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I like what Filoni and company has done with him to make him a way more interesting character, way more menacing. Because he's not just, at times he seemed like just like a mindless killing machine. Not a whole lot of, obviously there wasn't a whole lot of lines for him. Just not a whole lot going on there. This is different. There's a lot going on with Maul. He's got a mind. It's sharp. He's got visions of, you know, things that are going on around him through the Force.
Yeah.
You know, he literally survived on sheer will and hatred until he could.
I do like that he's not some mindless, I'm just out there to kill everything and everyone. He's got his own code. He's got his own revenge, but he also has his own goals of building up his small little underworld empire and everything. And
absolutely,
you know, yeah, I agree. I like everything that we get out of Maul here would have been wonderful to have out of the Phantom Menace, which the Phantom Menace was just too big for its britches, I gotta say. Like, and that's the problem with shooting on the first draft. So,
yeah, I got you.
So, but believe me, I mean, go ahead, keep going. Go ahead.
It really is a. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You didn't cut me off. Go ahead.
It really does seem like this is, you know, like this version of Maul is the Maul we should have always had, and it really hits right. You know, especially in seasons 5 and 7 of the Clone Wars, where he takes control of the Shadow Collective and then seizes Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see the menace and the calculation. It's fantastic. And you see more of that here, but you also see hints of the, you know, he is searching for an apprentice. The things he tried to do with Ezra at the beginning, you know, he's trying to bring this, you know, this young lost Padawan who's clearly got frustrations, who probably is more emotional, so, and possibly more susceptible to the dark side. I like it, and I really like Captain Lawson. He is very likable.
He's a down-to-earth dude, so to speak. Pardon the pun. And world weary.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
There we go. Another thing I like this world. I'm glad I thought this took place on Coruscant for the longest time. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's why it kind of looks like, at least in the commercials and the ads and everything, you're like, oh, well, clearly they're in Coruscant.
Yeah. What's this world called? Jaxa?
Janix.
Janix. Yeah, I like it. I like the local culture and the flavor. I mean, it's a little milquetoast, but it also is to show like it's not a backwater. This is a good, you know, it's a thriving planet with thriving culture and a good community, and every community has an underworld side to it too. So like, especially if it's a big community. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I would like to know what this world looks like from above, if there are more cities on this planet, or if it's just a large city in a very condensed area and that's it.
Yeah, of course.
it wouldn't make sense to me if it was like that, but that's a very Star Wars kind of trope thing. With Tatooine having only 3 settlements, and then you got nomads here and there. So yeah, I do like this world. And I like that they went for a whole kind of like what kids were doing and like the high school age kind of thing and whatnot. And that reminds me of one more thing that I like that I'll bring up in a second. What's your next one?
I like the voices they're bringing in. They bring in some recognizable voices. They bring in some strong voices where you're like, oh, okay. I'll never talk bad about D. Bradley Baker crushing all the clones, especially when he had to do all the different clones that sounded all exactly the same. Whereas at least with the Bad Batch, every single one had different inflections and pronunciations and slightly different accents. So he at least got to branch out there. But it is, you have a diverse voice cast, which adds to it. Obviously, Sam Witwer, we know his Mandalorian lieutenant, Rook Cast, that's Vanessa Marshall. She is actually better known for playing the voice of Hera Syndulla in Rebels.
Oh, that was her. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But she voiced this, I'm pretty sure she voiced this character in season 7 of the Clone Wars. She's one of the Maul DeLoreans.
Okay.
You have, you have the voice of Vario, who really does a great job. You have Dennis Haysbert as Master Daki. You have, both Pamela Adlon and her daughter is voices. Richard Ayoade from the IT crowd, and I think he was one of the. He was the voice of one of the droids in the Mandalorian at one point.
He's been in a lot of things. I can't think of that right now.
You even had the voice of Zeb, Steve Bloom, playing one of the Knight brothers, one of one of the Zabraks. So they brought back some voice actors who were in other projects for Star Wars, not quite the same characters, but then you have.
Oh, they know what they can do. So
yeah, I know. So that's what I liked. I really did enjoy it.
Now I was about to say what I also liked, but I realized that is post chapter 3 on this one. So I'll say I like Two Boots. He's a very helpful droid who follows the protocol. Also, has been shown to be following the protocol to such an innocent level that it could be a liability. As was mentioned.
I know.
But I do like Two Boots. I'm not going to give anything away, but there is an opportunity for us to see a droid actually grow, which is fun. You don't normally see droids actually grow. They kind of stay in the personality stasis that they are.
Sure.
Because it's not about the droids, right? It's about the human characters, or you know what I mean, not the human necessarily, but strangely enough in Andor it was all human characters. But
yeah, you only see a handful of non-human characters in Andor.
So I like Two Boots on this. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to add on things you like, and then things like you kind of like, or?
No, I'm good. I mean, you're right. The first couple episodes are a little slower in pace. Yeah, I am looking forward for them to pick up. You say that they do, so I look forward to catching up with the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, my problem is I'm not against a slow burn. I love slow burn storytelling because Jaws is slow burn in storytelling. It's slow burn is a symptom of being able to find the nuance in a character development and things like that. So not a problem with that. This just didn't tell much, or for the time that it was allotted. And because of that, you need to condense that. Like,
yeah, it's definitely some world building. At the time,
which can still be done effectively in half the time.
You're right.
Even less.
I think they could have sped it along a little.
Yeah. I do worry about this one thing that has been a very common trope. You speak of tropes. This isn't, I'm not bagging on this show because I've already told you this is a good show. But this is a theme that's been happening, especially with Disney Star Wars. It's that we find an adult who finds a young one or a child or someone in distress that needs help. And then we suddenly have this adult, this parent-child relationship, a mentor-mentee relationship. We saw it with Mandalorian. We saw it with, we saw it in Ahsoka in a way with Sabine and Ahsoka. We saw it in not Skeleton Crew, funny enough. But that was a good old.
They were all kids. It was almost
they were all kids. That was a good old 80s action kid adventure thing. But you saw it with what was the other one? You're gonna be seeing it in Star Wars Starfighter, and Mandalorian Grogu as the movie. That's gonna be the thing. What are the other ones? Well, anyway, and then we saw it with Ezra. We saw it with Star Wars Rebels. We saw it. It's too common. We're coming into this thing where a Jedi or a former Jedi comes across a child that is strong with the Force, that needs to be mentored, and it just happens too much. Oh, we saw Bad Batch. Not necessarily with the Force, but we saw it with Bad Batch, like a young child kind of accelerated in their development, mentally and stuff that adds value to the group, but, still has a lot of growing up that they have to do. It's getting a little tiresome. And I'm not saying that that's bad here, but it's been done. And if you're going to be developing other stories and things like that, probably step away from this kind of thing.
Maybe.
Again, I'm not saying it ruins this show, but it just adds on to, we've done this before, guys. Can we figure out something else on how this works? Like maybe look into a love story. Can we do a love story? I don't know what's wrong with Star Wars and not wanting love stories, but Jesus, can we do that? Love is pretty universal. Like,
because Star Wars has had some creepy love stories, and maybe they've realized that it's not their jam.
No, that was Lucas's problem in not being a jam. But any other writer who likes Star Wars can make it happen. You're joking. I know, and you're right. It does have a creepy track record, in the Star Wars world. But can we do that, please? Give me that. I had my wife read the first 26 chapters of my book, and she's giving me pointers on how to spice up the love story, have this guy show this. appreciation in this form versus her, being a little miffed at him not reacting a certain way and things like that. There is an art to it, but it can be done, and love stories can be fun without. It doesn't need to go anywhere explicit, The 80s did it all the time with kids shows and things like that. Summer camp movies, heck, Punky Brewster. Geez, Louise, it's been done, and it can be done. So that's my suggestion. I don't know. Your thoughts?
I wouldn't mind a love story.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. But
yeah.
All right. Well, for the first 3 episodes, a little slow. I will say, power through it. I didn't want to power through it, and I don't mean to be a wet blanket in that regard. But I texted you going, "Holy schmoly, man!" Like,
I know.
And yeah. So, but it does pick up, like I said. So we'll have the opportunity to be able to finish this next week. Hopefully you'll follow along. And then until the next time, you guys, well, I'm P.S. McKay. We're those sci-fi guys. You guys keep dreaming. We'll keep working. So long, everybody.
I'm GT Cavman, and up here on the high ground, we are free of the Empire.
Bam.
That can warp the stars. DT's got stories from cavalry scars. One writes the worlds where the heroes fly, the other old tanks under desert sky. From sandbox sports to the final frontier, 2 kids with dreams and a 6-pack of beer. Different roads, same old spark. Talking Trek till the streetlights spark. We read those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mac and DT Cammon lighting up the airwaves. Blasters and books, we're geek to the core. Laughing through the lore on those sci-fi guys. Mac spins a tale about a rogue AI. Counters with, man, I drove that guy. From doom to doom, we argue the stakes while the coffee gets cold and the pizza box breaks. Childhood pals in a grown-up fight for the best damn death scene on a Friday night. Pixels or pages, we're never done. 2 working stiffs chasing alien sun. We're in those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mac and DT Cammon lighting up the airwaves. Blasters and books, we're geek to the core. Laughing through the lore on those sci-fi guys. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, yeah. No capes, no powers, just regular days. But we'll save the galaxy in our own ways. Max drafting novels in the dead of night. DT's got tank tracks, turns them into light. Together we're louder than a hyperdrive scream. 2 regular dudes living the sci-fi dream. Yeah, yeah, we're with those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mac and DT Cammon lighting up the airwaves. From the sandbox to the stars, we'll never say die. Tune in, geek out, those sci-fi guys.
Blade Runners or replicants? Bring the Bourbon Rider boys, gonna get real.